Greetings, family, and welcome back to another edition of New Day Resurrection and Liberation. And I am your co-host for this evening and moderator, brother Lamuma Uncaged, and of course, I have with me the illustrious host, Sister Empress Chi.
All right, greetings everyone. So, I'm sure many are aware that today is the commemoration of the unaliving of Dr. Martin Luther King. And so we didn't put that in our earlier PR transmission for tonight's program because we pretty much felt like, well, a lot of people are probably doing that or have done that for this week. So we didn't want to really kind of, belabor that, but we did want to at least mention it. We have to always make certain that we give some kind of recognition to ancestors that genuinely attempted to help our people. And so, whether you agree with the tactic or the strategy of nonviolence, certainly you cannot dismiss the hard work that many did genuinely, again, with an intent of helping our people, of obtaining justice. So we can never minimize that or dismiss it. With that said, of course, coming out of that movement was entities such as SNCC, of course, not directly, but Black Panther Party. I mean, the unaliving of Dr. King certainly triggered a lot of other things, and so it might not have been a direct result of that, but certainly it contributed to some other movements or some other actions and some other thought processes taking place. So again, just want to make recognition of that today being the commemoration of Dr. King becoming an ancestor. All right, and we'll probably talk more about that later tonight as we get into the dialogue. Speaking of tonight, Yep. So speaking of tonight, we are going to talk again with our sister Anita Bell. She'll be joining us very shortly. And for those who was with us the last time, then you might recall we had a very good conversation with her about something that we're pretty excited about. It's different, and we think it is something that is definitely on time because when we talk about how we're going to advance in certain areas of things. Certainly, with what Sister Anita brings to the table, it definitely lets us need it. That's a possibility, a good possibility, and we want to see how we can help further it. So, with that said, we're going to talk to Sister Anita Bell, and we're going to talk with her further about blockchain, how this can be used in this particular situation as pertains to repair/reparations. So we'll be talking with her very shortly, and hopefully we will be talking with Dr. Dolores Blakely. Both of those conversations is going to also connect to last week's session that happened at the United Nations on March 25th, and that, of course, being the vote that produced, it has to be a historical kind of notation because, I mean, that hasn't certainly happened before. And, now when I hear people, not many, but a few, act as if it meant nothing, it just makes certain that we further this whole not just struggle, but making certain that the information is circulated a bit more adequately because apparently folks don't understand certain things. So anyway, we're going to be responsible and make sure that we put some other pieces out there that might not be as clear as they need to be. So again, our conversation tonight will be continuing the dialogue in regards to last week's resolution that was approved, passed by 123 countries. Agreed. Yep, absolutely agreed that the transatlantic slave trade and all that went with it was not only a crime against humanity, i.e., genocide, but it was a grievous crime against humanity. Yeah, I mean, it was like none other, but crime against humanity. That's what we're saying. And so again, we want to make sure that people really understand some of the dynamics that is connected to that. You have never seen 123 countries. You haven't seen over 10 countries really agree to something of that nature. And so while I think 53 countries abstained, 3 countries, of course, voted outright no. And so we're gonna tell you about what our response is going to be to the U.S. Saying no, they will not. Their vote was no. Well, our vote is yeah, okay. We're not just going to sit back and just accept that like that. So we're going to tell you what our next steps are in terms of action plan. So with that said, let us move on. Brother Muma, did you have a clip you were going to open up with us for? Because I want to check with Sister Anita to make sure she has the number or he has the link.
Okay, I want to let me see if I can pull it up really quickly because I wanted to kind of give that perspective. Now we did show a clipping from Ethereal, and I just want to make sure that the New Day audience has kind of a historic perspective on the continuation of the no and the script that's being utilized and that has been utilized. I think this is for the third time. So for approximately the last 100 or so years. All right. So let me come to that clip really quickly and just share some of that historical perspective, family. While I'm doing that, let me get into an aspect of the clip that was an excerpt from the actual decision and the stance from Ghana that was taken and the initial push from the UN perspective. All right, so let me share that really quick. Share my screen here. Okay. All right.
/L48 is adopted.
All right, let me just pause it really quickly and read some of those captions for you all. So that was 53 countries that abstained. That was 3 countries that voted no, which was the United States, Israel, and Argentina, and 123 countries that ratified the decision as far as declaring the transatlantic slave Holocaust as a human rights violation, aka crime against humanity. Okay, now again, family, this proposal was pushed. The resolution was pushed by Ghana, all right, called the countries to contribute to a reparations fund.
So today we come together in solemn solidarity to affirm truth and pursue a route to healing and reparative justice. The adoption of this resolution serves as a safeguard against forgetting.
The United States strongly objects to the cynical usage of historical wrongs as a leverage point in an attempt to reallocate modern resources to people and nations who are distantly related to the historical victims.
There remains a terrible breach, a gaping wound in the tapestry of humanity.
Hold on, Phil. I gotta stop right there. Let me take this back. Right, there was subtle shots and darts thrown. Let's get a perspective on that really quickly on the United States position on why they did not support or believe that there was a grievance to be heard. All right, and this being a violation of human rights. But as we know, it was put in the legislation, the very legislation itself, right, that Black folks were not even deemed full human beings. All right, that those were the laws that were on the books. All right, so it's not surprising with this stance. Let's run it back one more time and let's get this clown's perspective.
The
United States strongly objects to the cynical usage of historical wrongs.
The cynical usage of historical wrongs. Okay, playing with words, family, playing with words. You know what I think is far more cynical? The actual dehumanization, exploitation, oppression, degradation itself. I find that, highly cynical. As a matter of fact, way beyond those points. So for him to be able to take this so lightly and so casually really shows you the spirit and the perspective of the United States, right? And their representatives.
As a leverage point in an attempt to reallocate modern resources to people and nations who are distantly related to the historical victims.
Wow, family. If y'all didn't peep the word gymnastics that was going on with this clown, right? Distant relatives, he says, right? To try to use it as a leverage point to reallocate resources. All right, I'm gonna let this finish playing. Then we're gonna come back to that portion, family, and really kind of break some of those things down and how it was totally nonsensical.
There remains a terrible breach, a gaping wound in the tapestry of humanity, indeed of the world. The name of that wound is the transatlantic slave trade, one of the worst atrocities inflicted by one group of human beings on another, and whose legacy remains to this day.
All right. Let's stop it there, family. Let me stop my screen share there. Okay, let me stop my screen share there, family. Highly disrespectful. Disrespectful, family. Just making light of one of the worst, as was stated, one of the worst atrocities in human history. Okay. And so he talked about using this as a leverage point to reallocate resources, family. Listen to the wordings carefully, right? So when you're talking about a grievance, when you're talking about an injustice that was done, what is the statute of limitations on a Holocaust?
That's
What the hell are you talking about?
Wow.
Distant relatives? They playing in our face, family. They are playing in our face. What are you talking about? Distant? You mean descendants of those ancestors who were violated mentally, spiritually, physically, sexually, who are tortured, beaten, maimed, right? Eliminated, executed in the most heinous of ways. That are those the distant relatives you're talking about? The descendants of those people who have experienced aspects that we know of scientifically, dealing with the ramifications through epigenetics. Is that what this clown is talking about? Family, come on now. We cannot let these things go unchecked and unchallenged, right? And then you talk about the reallocation of resources, family. You talking about like the reallocation of resources from hundreds of years of free labor, like that type of reallocation of resources. What are we talking about? Utterly insane. All right, insane, right? But you can't expect sanity from insane people, and you can tell the insanity by the historical precedences that were set. Okay, when you look at the nature of a people historically, and you see all of the torture devices that were created to maim and destroy human beings slowly and painfully. This is sick, sadistic work, family. Incredible. How dare he, though? Not on my watch. Not on my watch. Okay. All right, let me come over to Sister Empress for any commentary on that.
Wow. I mean, you hit it right on the nose, Brother Lumumba, for real. This is just, again, I was going to say unbelievable, but not really. When you know or have an understanding of what this government, what this country has done for at least 400 years, then, it's nothing new, or it shouldn't appear as if it's anything new. This is what they've done. This is what they do. This is how they've done it. I think at this stage of the game, for people to think that there's going to be any real changes anytime soon, I don't know what type of delusion people are in, but that's not going to happen. But there is some things that can happen, and this is what we're going to get to very, very shortly. There are some things that can happen as it pertains to this vote now that has gone in, that has created an international stir, for lack of a better terminology. Mm-hmm. So now the engagement, the interactions is going to be very different. And let me just point out to you how and why some of that is. Okay, so again, last week there was a vote, as Brother Lumumba just mentioned. Now, let me give you a little highlight as to what some of this means, and hopefully Sister Anita will be joining us shortly so that she can also give us her input. Now, let's look at what some will call key provisions. And what we mean by that is whenever you have a vote of this type, that it's not just them saying, well, I agree, or whatever. This means that certain things can now be enacted, or at least approached, or brought forward. Now, no one is going to be actually held accountable at this time because we're looking at a process. So at least the process can begin. But what goes with that process? Again, there are certain things that one would call key provisions. Now, there are numerous, but let me just point out a few of them. In the recognition of the transatlantic slave trade as a grave crime against humanity, that puts this in the context now of there being a call for reparatory justice. So now these countries are agreeing that a call for reparatory justice is now being made. So this includes not only formal apologies, but restitution, excuse me, of looted cultural property, compensation, rehabilitation, and guarantees of non-repetition. Now, this is all real stuff. This is the stuff that's now on the table, right? In terms of how to proceed, what needs to happen. One of the other things is in terms of looking at the promotion of human rights, dignity, and healing for the decades of enslaved Africans. The agreeing countries are encouraging not only dialogue amongst UN member states, a collaboration with the African Union and Caribbean community and the organizations of American states to advance reparatory frameworks. So now this means they actually have to come together, both as groups, as individual states, and put stuff on paper at least to begin the process. This has never happened before. So for people that talking this stuff about, they don't get it. This has never happened before. So the work that Queen Mother Moore started is now, the fruition is now reaching another level. And, and this had never happened before. And so for folks to now jump in and act like they, anyway, I digress. So, okay, let's go to another point. Emphasis on historical accountability. So these countries are making certain that there's an emphasis on a historical accountability and confronting the enduring legacies of slavery, including systemic racism and inequality. Now, this again creates a different framework. Right? This again enables different other things to happen. Lastly, let's look at the context and significance. The resolution commemorates the International Day of Remembrance, and that was, of course, March the 25th, and repeats a historical step in acknowledging the atrocities of the transatlantic slave trade. So look at the pattern here. So this particular International Day, which is really only about 2 decades in existence, right? There's something that the UN put in place about 2 decades or so ago. But now look at how it has advanced from a day of remembrance, and note it's an International Day of Remembrance. On that day is when they took this vote. So now let's see the progress from a day of remembrance to an actual vote. That is progress. And with that vote, I just gave you some of the things that entails. Now to further. So again, the day was in recognition of transatlantic slave trade, which forcibly transported at least 12.5 million Africans to the Americas. Now, this is important because we know that our people were placed throughout the diaspora. But this is also being very specific in focusing on the Americas. Okay? Now, okay, so to move further, the UN Secretary General, and that's Antonio Guterres, and Ghanaian President John Mahama emphasized that addressing slavery's legacy is essential for justice, equality, and inclusive development, including access to education, health, employment, and safe environments. Right? So now here's the other one that I found very interesting. The resolution also calls for the return of looted artifacts and recognition of African countries' ownership of those natural resources. Right. Now, again, this is a different ball game, because this not only talks about us repairing, it also puts in place for the African countries to now move forward in getting back some of the treasures, the artifacts, and so forth from France, Portugal, England, US. This is different. So again, these are some of the things that we are now looking at that will actually go into effect. This is no longer just a conversation. This is real stuff in real time, family. So I want you all to kind of think about that for a little while, because I see the Sister Nita is with us now. But I just want to give you a little bit of what is about to happen. Now note, as it says here, while this is a non-binding resolution, it still carries significant political and moral weight, marking a global acknowledgement of the transatlantic slave trade as a crime against humanity and establishing a framework for reparatory justice. It represents a milestone in international efforts to confront historical injustices, promote healing, and address the enduring social, economic, and racial consequences of slavery. Family. Again, I know there are some who are like, this don't mean nothing. And we're saying, okay, look, y'all stay home and watch Saturday Night Live or whatever it is y'all be watching, because every step now is going to be a step forward. I mean, it's always been a step forward, but now this gets real interesting. And unfortunately, it took, all this time from Mother Callie House up to now, but this is definitely good. So listen, we have Sister Anita with us, and before she gives us some updates on family, listen. Some things are ahead of its time and some things is right on time. And this blockchain that Sister Nita's going to talk to us about is both, as far as I'm concerned, a little ahead of its time, but it's right on time, right? Okay. And that's okay. That's okay, because we come from a people who have foresight, insight. And so a lot of times we run into situations, or sometimes we run into situations where we don't get it then. And I tell you, and I think Sister Anita, she said it too, when we first heard this, and I remember it. But even when I heard it then, I was like, but that's as far as it went, right? But now, we get it now. But anyway, before I bring her in to talk to you about that, I want to ask Sister Anita about her thoughts as it pertains to last week's resolution. Hey, Sister Anita, thank you for joining us.
Did I unmute?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, great. Oh, it feels like a lifetime.
Yes.
You remember that song "Forever Came Today"?
Yeah.
I'm in Motown, so I'm going to always have these Motown references of Diana Ross and the Supremes, where right? Forever Came Today. It was like, oh my God. Forever Came Today was a song that was ringing through my head as I'm listening to the report of that vote from the Ghanaian embassy and their ambassador and their president came on the day before the vote to address the United Nations. Imagine a sitting president comes to the United States. You do not, a sitting president comes to the United States. Where is the Donald Trump greetings, welcome,
Right.
press releases? None of that. I'm going to clean it up. None of that happened. Oh, Empress, I was making a video of what we're doing, what we are doing, what is being done, because it's not just you and me. It's like a lot of us are getting this done because we realize that this is our time. Yes. I wish I had put on more makeup and everything, but I realized when you called me that, I'm running late. And I'm running late because AI makes me late sometimes, and I won't even use that as an excuse. So you have me barefaced. This is my natural beauty.
And you are beautiful. And you are beautiful. That's right.
All right. This is what I look like on Saturday night. All right, y'all.
And Sister Anita, before you continue, I just want to do a quick sidebar, because I've had people to say, well, why y'all come on so late? Well, this week, one of our greats made transition, Bob Laws. And for those who do not know who he is, years ago, there was something called Night Talk, right? And look, Google him, Bob Laws. And people, I think he came on like at 12 midnight, right? This is when Black folks was really talking about doing some things, and we're doing it. So he was nationally syndicated, and he came on, I'm almost sure it was like 12 o'clock at night. And people literally, at least for 2 hours, listened to Night Talk, right? Black Talk. And so I just want to, again, for those who do not know, look him up. Bob Laws was a pioneer in talk radio, Black talk radio, and he was serious as all get out. Again, hail him up. And again, that was one of the reasons. It was people like him was one of the reasons why we said we're going to do ours at night. Because
and I hear you. I hear you, because Saturday night we are either listening to you or listening to Saturday Night Live. Right. At least now we're not just joking about our. At least if we're laughing at ourselves.
That's right.
And not having and not being laughed at by the rest of the world. So. And we have plenty to laugh at about ourselves, because we got Black people, when we have a family meeting, we know we ain't funny while we are deliriously funny. It ain't funny, and yet it's very funny. So that's the conversation we need to have sometimes in a segregated room.
But continue on, sister, and tell us about, more about your thoughts. Now, and keep in mind, the other two countries that, of course, said no, Argentina, and, of course, we expected Israel to say no. So we just want to make sure. For those who do not know.
Yeah, I'm being a Black Jew tonight. And so that's where, as a Black Jew, so that when I say some certain things and somebody wants to call me anti-Semitic, I'm like, am I or are you? So that I can play that imposter syndrome card, or they would call that the black card or the spade card or whatever card you want to call it. I never thought of race as a card game. Because if it was, then we'd be playing spades or tarot or something like that. We're not playing a card game. We're playing a matrix game. But even in a matrix game, we are the matrix. And when Black people remember that, when we remember that, then it changes the game. But as long as we keep submitting or surrendering to white worship, then it will continue to get worse. So I spend some time addressing white worship, especially in an era when we are dealing with AI, or artificial intelligence, and blockchain, so that I want to make people understand what is going on a technological level, so that we can correct it early instead of trying to jump on a bandwagon too late.
Right.
And that's why I talk about these things. You and I heard a man who was probably more ahead of his time than we are talk about blockchain reparations in 2022.
Yep.
A Black History Month program we were looking at Reparations Awareness Day in February of 2022. So here it is 4 years later. I'm grasping on to what he said 4 years ago. I'm still trying to find that young man who gave us this idea. He's around somewhere. The closest I got was an idea of, well, his girlfriend just had a baby, and so he's concentrating on fatherhood. But I can't find him at the moment. He's the one who gave this idea to us in 2022. And I'm like, yes, it took me a minute to figure it out. And then when I figured it out, I'm telling Empress. And it's like, we heard this 4 years ago, but sometimes it doesn't click when you hear it.
Right.
And that's what I want people to understand about planting seeds. That when you plant a seed, it might not grow when you plant it, like no seed usually does. A seed has to crack its shell. It has to grow in the soil that it's in. It has to germinate and bud, and I mean, it can go from a mustard seed to a mustard tree, but that doesn't happen overnight. So here it is 4 years later, and me and Empress are like, let me just be blunt. Damn.
Right. Yep.
You mean we got this revelation 4 years ago, but it took us 4 years to see it, and now we ready to run with the vision. And we're ready to run with the vision. And that's where, if you get one person to run with you, because that's the power of three. That is the power of three. One person might get it. 2 people run with it. 3 people makes it a cord that's not easily broken. So that's why I'm trying to find that dude. But if he's taking care of a baby instead of taking care of this baby, then I get it.
Right.
I'm already on the call.
Who is this?
That's the brother Lumumba.
Oh, okay. Because I'm talking about Nate Talbot. He was the one who told us this idea in 2022. And here it is 4 years later, and we're running with it, and I'm still trying to find this guy. But even before him, when I was running for mayor of Detroit, and during the primary, of course, and another person running for mayor of Detroit was Ingrid LaFleur. And this was a person talking about blockchain reparations and everything like that. So she was the friend who introduced me to Nate Talbot. She was a mayoral candidate for Detroit at the same time that I was, and I'm talking about reparations. She's talking about blockchain, and the two of us become very, what's the word for it? Very impressed with each other, so that Nate might say that Ingrid was the one who gave the idea about blockchain reparations. And trying to get a hold of her is even harder than him, because she's now living in South Africa and not even in Detroit. Not even in Michigan. So, wow. This is what happens. Yes, these are young people, because Ingrid's younger than me. And Empress, of course, is so much younger than me. But so I'm 65. But all of these younger folks came up with these brilliant ideas. And sometimes if they present them to the NAACP, UNIA, even in Cobra, then they may be resisted because the old heads are still thinking we're going to do HR 40. But I heard.
It's not funny, but it's true.
Black
It's
history
so
is not funny, but it's so true. So this is
true.
This is what we do, and because we cling to those ideas because it came from Reparations Ray Jenkins. It came from that era of people. And yet we don't even think, well, if that's not working 40 years later, do we stop doing that and start another idea? Do we build on it? Or do we keep doing it like knocking our head against a wall? And some people might think it's disrespectful to Reparations Ray to try to get reparations by any other kind of way. And I'm like, do you think he would say, if you got a better idea than me, don't do it, just keep doing my idea? Do you think he would say that?
Nah, not at all.
Not at all. You mean blockchain reparations, which wasn't available when he was alive? You mean now we can come up with a way where we don't have to ask permission from our oppressors to get reparations? You mean we are now independent, or we can be independent from them? You want me to say no, keep begging them instead of doing this way?
And Sister Anita, if you could, for those who are totally unfamiliar with crypto and with blockchain, can you give us just a base level introduction?
All right, crypto and blockchain. Well, let's just talk about blockchain a little bit, and then it evolves into cryptocurrency. Blockchain permits decentralization. And what does that mean? Right now, currency flows according to the government that authorizes that currency, with the U.S. government authorizing the U.S. dollar. Under the U.S. dollar, Black people get nothing and have gotten nothing. But the U.S. dollar existed in its somewhat current format since 1913. And that is when, okay, this is decreasing a lot of information, long story short, because the 1913, around the time of World War I, and all of this is going to be significant because wars and currency make a big difference. But a little bit before World War I, then the United States decided that it was going to enact the Federal Reserve Act. And that was 1913, where income, and also at the same time as the Federal Reserve Act was being implemented, the 16th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, the one that permits income taxes, was implemented at the same time. That's a long history that I won't go into tonight, because the question was on cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is independent of any government, which is why governments or people are able to trade through cryptocurrency and not have to worry about exchange rates the same way. Prior to cryptocurrency, exchange rates are a big mess. Let's just call it what it is. So that even though Canada is 20 minutes away from Detroit, Michigan, and I live in Detroit, Michigan, if you went with a Canadian quarter, not even a dollar, going back and forth between the United States and Canada, as they do a lot. So you might wind up with Canadian money in your US wallet because you are sitting here in Detroit. But that quarter might not be worth 25 cents because of the value of the dollar. Enter in cryptocurrency, because the American dollar became off the gold standard in the 1930s. So there's nothing backing the American dollar except the American bomb. I'll say that.
Okay.
There's nothing backing the American dollar except the American bomb. When you understand that, now you understand why war becomes a matter of national security. They got to keep the dollar up.
That's right. Big facts. Big facts.
If the dollar is based upon petroleum or oil, then you got to go invade every place that has oil in order to keep the American dollar up. When you understand this dynamic, yes, America has some oil, but Canada has even more. Mm-hmm. So if Trump wants to invade Canada, just like he wants to invade Iran, just like he might want to invade Nigeria, just like they invaded Venezuela.
That's right.
Let's just look at a pattern, because I tell people that pattern recognition is a survival instinct. Those people who don't recognize the patterns don't live to survive. That's why I tease and say, if mathematics is a pattern recognition system, then in a place like Detroit, that was the murder capital, you might not know how to read, but if you didn't know how to do math, you didn't even make it to jail. You were dead. Because if you came back to the drug dealer with the wrong amount of money, you didn't make it to jail. Jail means you didn't know how to read. A grave meant you didn't know how to read or do math. At least that's the reality when Detroit was the murder capital. It might not be true anymore because we're not the murder capital anymore. I don't know where it is, but that's what happened in Detroit. You might not can read, but if you can't do math, you didn't even make it to jail, because the drug dealers who could do math made sure you didn't. And that caused some Black people to look at some things and say, oh my goodness, it doesn't make sense. If Canada has oil, of course you're going to try and get to Canada. Or if an oil pipeline between Alaska's oil and to get to America goes through Canada, then of course you want to control that pipeline. It has, and let's add the other fact about population statistics. By about 2050, which is, for those who ain't doing the math, 24 years from now, look at your lifespan. How old are you? Are you going to be alive perhaps in 2050? If possibly you're going to be alive, then 1 out of 4 people on the planet Earth will be of African descent. In the United States, around before 2050, if it wasn't for deporting those people of Hispanic descent that you want to argue are not American, even though this was their country before America took over, depending on how you want to say if they're indigenous or not, that they are not citizens of their own indigenous land, depending on if you want to say that or not. Or if they're not Hispanic, even if they're of African descent, no matter how you want to try and frame who is an American, by approximately 2035, then then blacks and Hispanics were going to be the majority. Oh, go ahead in the refrigerator. The blacks and Hispanics were going to be the majority in America, and whites were going to be the minority. So if another reason for making Canada a American state was to make America white again with all of those Canadians, then that might be an option too. But it didn't hurt that Canada had oil. Didn't hurt. Because, I mean, we could always get white people, but where can we go and get oil? Because it's based on oil, not just upon white majority. But you add oil and white majority, and even though Canada is about 15, 20 minutes away from where I live in Detroit, and I'm talking about not a plane, I'm talking about a car or a bus, because we got buses. But so a car or a bus, and I could be in Canada in 20 minutes, maybe half hour. And not everybody can say that. So when America pretends we gonna jump crazy and take away 14th Amendment citizenship from everybody, take away birthright citizenship, please trust and believe. When they're talking about taking that away from birthright citizenship, but they're going to still protect black people, are you really going to trust the folks saying that? Really? Because if you do, then I'm telling you, I'm 20 minutes from Canada. I don't have to trust them. I got an escape plan. But if you're all the way in Memphis, Tennessee, what's your escape plan? You better have a tank full of gas before they pull that stuff.
Let me pull you back real quick though, because I want to tackle some more. What's going on with the blockchain, and
yes.
Just make sure people get an understanding of kind of just the fundamentals, so they can go in and do their own independent research.
Yes. So blockchain is
decentralization, right?
And, decentralization. Yes. And that means it's not dependent on a government. That if three, now the Bible talked about if two, but here in this particular case, it takes three. So that sounds like a Tesla or Einstein idea. And you could tell that influence is impacting it. But if three are able to do this, then two are a majority and one person can dissent. That's why it can't be just two. It has to be three. But if three come together in this particular name, then what they will can be done. So that's where black people now have to look at, well, we can choose three people and start creating a blockchain that's decentralized. It's not dependent on just Anita Bell, because we know what kind of world we live in. They would take me out. It's not just dependent on Empress. It's not, and now we go from three and start multiplying in threes so that there's always a way to keep a majority. But it becomes decentralized. What if the African Union did this? What if the Sahel did this? What if every nation where there are black diaspora did this? Just put one person in on the blockchain or on the Global Reparations DAO, which is a decentralized, autonomous organization. The online equivalent of a NGO, which is a non-governmental agency or non-governmental organization. If we decided to do this, which we can decide as soon as we decide it, that's where black people have been afraid. Well, I'm afraid to do things online. I'm afraid of blockchain. What if somebody steals all of my Ethereum? Well, if you only have $5 in Ethereum and somebody stole it all, come on.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, because can you talk a little bit about the security that's involved with the decentralization concepts and blockchain?
Well, what happens with decentralization is also blockchain is different from AI. And wow, that is a huge distinction to make for people. AI can be centralized.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that if you're afraid of AI, and they're teaching you to be afraid of AI, but if you're afraid of AI, AI is different from blockchain because AI can be centralized, but blockchain is decentralized. What does that mean for security? That if somebody, for whatever contrary reason, decides to hack me, what does that have to do with Empress? If somebody, for whatever nefarious reason, decides to hack Brother Lumumba, what does that have to do with me? And that's where decentralization becomes powerful and protective, because all of our eggs are not in one basket. It's a little bit, a little here, a little there, a little everywhere. But also that little bit that's decentralized winds up verifying each other. So that in a global reparations DAO, and DAO stands for decentralized, autonomous, which means it's independent organization. A decentralized, independent organization on a blockchain like Ethereum or other blockchains. Let's be blunt, there's more than one. Then on that blockchain, we can verify the transactions. And so nobody's stealing money to put it in their pocket. It gives you automatic auditing, so that if you don't necessarily trust me for whatever reason, you don't necessarily trust Empress, when other organizations, and I won't say who all they are because we are under attack. Let's be blunt. Even though they think they created this, they did not. It was based upon what we did. But even though they think they created it, they want to try and control it and keep it out of our hands. This is the opportune time now, which is why I'm so glad Empress said, let's talk about this now. If we don't do this now, if we wait 4 more years, it might be too late. Because so many things are moving right now that if we do not make our impact at this moment, we might be caught in a matrix that will take a different type of energy to break. That's saying it's so politically correct, but I'm just trying to be nice about it.
All right. So before we continue, let me go to Sister Empress before we try to open up the floor for any questions or comments that anyone might have. Sister Empress, did you have any additions to that before we open the floor up?
Brother Lumumba, you're sounding a little low. Your volume.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's not as loud as it normally is.
I am not sure why. I'm using another device that might have something to do with it.
Okay, but it's okay. I'll put my volume up.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you better now. Okay.
All right. So yeah, I was saying, did you have any additions to that before we open the floor up for any questions or comments anybody might have?
Not really. Sister Nita, as far as I'm concerned, gave a very, very good kind of insight into what it is. And so I really want folks to kind of, ask any questions that they may want to ask, because we're ready to go. With MW, yeah. Look, I mean, I'm not slow. All right, I'm not slow, and I know a lot of our people are not slow.
I am.
No. Once I get it, I mean, I was slow getting it, obviously, but once I get it, I don't know if I mentioned publicly. Yeah, I'm sure I did, because it's one of my favorite stories. But when I was in college, I met the great Empress Nina Simone. Right? Oh yeah. Me and her, one on just she and I. That it changed my life. But here's the quote that I carry in my being. She said, "Once you know, you can never not know again."
Mm.
Right? So I'm saying that to say, when again, we've confirmed when we first heard this, it didn't sink in. Well, we got it now. And so with me, once I know, I could never not know again.
And that becomes so prophetic for everybody whenever they are exposed to an idea. Because if they don't grasp it within a certain time period, and I'm like, maybe now was the time we needed to grasp it, because there are many reasons to criticize Trump. We can spend a whole hour or two talking about that. But one thing that is going on right now in the midst of wars is that there is a stable coin clarity act that is going through Congress whenever Congress reconvenes. It's going through the U.S. Senate. It can be made to that particular legislation can be made to be what I call reparations adjacent. Those are scary terms to some white people. And yet, while they are framing stable coins to not be considered part of the SEC or the Securities Exchange Commission, but instead to be considered part of the Commodities Commission, some people, this is all going over their head. And yet, what Black people can do when a stable coin is part of a Commodities Commission is do pilot project with stable coins on a blockchain.
Let me pause you right there before we continue. Before you start going into the latter aspects of commodities and so forth, because you're gonna have to break that down a little bit. But before we get to the next step, I did have a question. I want to open the floor up for any questions on the subject matter that we covered thus far. And I do see there's a question from Sister Dottie. So let me bring Sister Dottie up to the front stage. And you had a question or a comment, Sister Dottie. Thanks for joining us on New Day Resurrection.
Thanks for having me. Yes, my question was that when I did, what is that thing? Which you gave us instructions to open up, get the 12, the 12 number letters or whatever it was that we
the wallet, right?
I did not get for some reason my wallet isn't coming through. I mean, I'm in it, but I just can't seem to get the wallet to come through.
Are you you're using MetaMask or which
MetaMask.
You're using MetaMask?
Yes.
And you were able to verify your identity?
I don't know if they even asked me that. I guess
You
I have
would
to
know
go
because
back.
they would ask you to upload your driver's license or your passport.
Right. That's like the first steps, right?
That's going to be soon in there because they will not completely give you a wallet. They will open you up on the program. They will
Okay.
open you up on the app. But in order to get what I call the digital or Web3 wallet,
Right.
the United States requires that they comply with money laundering laws that mean you have to provide your driver's license or your passport to prove your identity. What they're afraid of is that digital currency can be used to launder money.
Okay.
And they pretend that digital currency can be used to launder drug money. But what drug dealer is sending $3? So it's not to just stop drug money laundering. It's if you don't have a valid ID, you can't have a digital Web3 wallet.
Oh,
And
let me just say, excuse me, Sister Dottie, though, if you're using a secondary device, if you could turn that down for me, please.
I did.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Yes, Sister Anita, please continue.
all right, so please, if you have not, say that you want to buy some Ethereum.
Yeah.
So tell MetaMask you want to buy Ethereum, and then they will put you through verifying your identity, because right now you could be just a username and you have a free MetaMask extension on your computer or a free MetaMask app on your cell phone. Both of those are fine. And yet, in order to trade cryptocurrency and not just US currency, you have to prove your identity. So tell the wallet that you want an Ethereum, you want to buy some Ethereum. Even if you're not buying Ethereum at the moment, you get what I'm saying? Somebody's sending you Ethereum. But if you just want Ethereum in any kind of way, whether you're buying it or receiving it, you have to prove that you are a US citizen and prove your identity, even
Okay.
if I'm only sending you $3.
All
Okay,
right.
right. So
Well,
what
I'm
you're
going to
saying
go
is,
back through the whole thing, and then next time when you come on, I should be done.
All
right.
right. All right, because I don't mind teaching people these things. This is new, but when I tell you this ain't just going to affect reparations, this will affect your whole life. Because what if the US currency is about to crash and now you might need digital currency, whether it's in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, Dogecoin? You might need something other than the US dollar. And that's a future where people who aren't even in the military, right now we're looking at the folks where people in military age might be asked to go fight a war over some oil. That affects my grandchildren. That might affect my son, depending on how old they let the draft go up to. I think the draft is now up to 40. My son just escaped. If they take it a little higher, he might even be drafted. In the meantime, when you're looking at what happens to your grandchildren, what happens when under the Democrats, not the Republicans, but under the Democrats, they were trying to say that equal rights, so that women can be drafted as well as men. So if you're thinking you're not just sacrificing your grandsons, you're sacrificing your granddaughters to go fight a war for oil against people in an indigenous country in order for your country, which is a colonizing country, to go take over their oil without their permission. So you could have cheaper oil, but you're still paying the same amount in taxes, and you're sending your children to go kill indigenous people so that they can conquer their oil so you can have cheaper gas. Now, that's not how I didn't give birth to children or take care of grandchildren for that kind of nonsense. But that's what America is heading towards, not just under Republicans, but it is a doctrine of white supremacy that the Democrats are doing too. When they hold a no kings, it's like Trump ain't trying to be the king of America. He's trying to be the king of Israel. Now wrap your head around that. When you wrap your head around that, now you understand the sellout.
And Sister Anita, thank you for that addition. Now, if you could just touch base briefly on when you were getting into the commodities aspect and the realization of the actual coin.
Yes. So right now, the Clarity Act, or the Stablecoins Clarity Act, is going through the U.S. Senate. It already was passed by the U.S. House. If we can amend that act to be what I call reparations adjacent, then it would allow pilot projects in reparations to be enacted under a stable coin under the guise of the commodities exchange instead of the securities exchange. And for some people, what I just said went over their head.
Please break it down. What's the difference between commodities and securities?
The amount of regulation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is where so many people who are into cryptocurrency, they might not be into reparations. A lot of them could be white people. They don't care about reparations, but if their stable coin is going to go up because of reparations, they ain't mad. They ain't mad.
And if you could you just kind of explain what a stable? Well, three things. Could you explain what a stable coin is? And there are a few words on because we're streaming on YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live, and there's a lot of censorship on Facebook. So instead of we use the terms like Caucasian, European, things of that nature. Other things they try to use as some type of racial slurs, things of that nature. And there's certain words, buzzwords that the algorithm picks up that tends to flag. So we can't say things like KILL. We have to say things like eliminate or exterminate or things of that nature, right? So there's a couple of trigger words that you just have to be a little bit cautious about. Thank you for that, though, Sister Anita.
All right, I will try and be as circumspect about the trigger words as I can be. All right, let's see if I can fix what I was about to say. That's why I like to write things, because I can eliminate or filter out the trigger words. But you want this spontaneous, so hopefully I don't get you censored.
Yeah, right, you're good.
The beauty about stable coins. Now, stable coins are things like what can be made stable coins.
Mm.
Let's start that. Let's start there, because an idea of stable coins is based upon what is the value of this digital currency compared to the centralized currency.
Mm.
And so that would make a stability. Right now, there is instability where Bitcoin goes up and down like bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin has been up past $100. What does that mean? That once upon a time, whatever year that was, that you could have bought Bitcoin at the very beginning. If you did buy Bitcoin at that very beginning, when one Bitcoin was worth $100,000,
Mm.
that's an idea of an investment. It goes beyond stock, because now it's not an investment in a company. Stock is investment in a company. You can buy stock in General Motors, and that is regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. You can buy stock in SpaceX, maybe not SpaceX per se, but Tesla and Elon Musk and all of that stuff. You can buy that stock, but Elon Musk is trying to do SpaceX, and it is about, if it's not already, it's about to go public. All of those things are under stocks that, when you are public stock exchange, then you have to disclose some things so that there is not insider trading and all kinds of things, the things that sent Martha Stewart to jail and so forth. That's why, if it's regulated as a stock, and if you have any inside information because it's happening to you, then you have the inside information, if it's going up, if it's going down, or if you are the governmental regulating agency, such as Congress or the U.S. government, which is why Nancy Pelosi could make a killing off of her stock. If you know the stock you investigating is about to go down because you're about to lower the hammer on them, then you can trade accordingly. So stablecoin is not the same as stock, because it's not regulated to one industry. It's not regulated to just SpaceX, like SpaceX stock. It's not regulated to General Motors, because it's not General Motors stock. Now it gets traded like a commodity, which means if it were gold, one person doesn't have gold, so it's not a stock, it's a commodity. Does that make sense? One person doesn't have oil, it's not a stock, it's a commodity. Wow. Africa is full of commodities because of its natural resources like gold and oil and lithium and cobalt and copper. So, shoots, even chocolate is a commodity. But chocolate just ain't in Cote d'Ivoire. Right. Chocolate's also in Ghana, so it's not centralized. Right. It's a commodity. And so when a stable coin is traded like a commodity and not a stock, then the decentralization is acknowledged. And you can't audit something that's decentralized the same way as you would audit something that's centralized, like General Motors or SpaceX. And that's where I tell some people that this is an opportunity where somebody like even Donald Trump could pass regulations that is reparations adjacent by just making a stable coin a commodity instead of a stock. And even somebody who the Democrats want to present as the most Hitler person in the 21st century. The 21st century just started, but Hitler was early in the 20th century. But even if Donald Trump is the Hitler version of the 21st century, even Hitler has an opportunity to do something that is reparations adjacent. And if he does, we could take off.
All right. All right. Okay, with that being said, let me come back to Sister Empress for any weigh-ins on that before I open the floor once again for any questions or comments for Sister Anita Bell.
Oh, wow. I mean, again, what can I say? Sister Anita just brings it, and it certainly provides a lot of clarity. And this is what we need. We need to be up on this kind of game, y'all. I mean, we need to know the ins and outs. We need to have a better comprehension so that we know how to play. You see?
That is the game that is being played right now. Trust and believe. When they can now do what is called real world asset backed cryptocurrency. If blacks, he said, here we go. Real world backed cryptocurrency.
That's what I'm talking
what
about.
Africa can do.
Now we talking.
Yep.
What Africa can do is say, we can digitize and tokenize our assets in our ground. And when we do attach a cryptocurrency to the assets still in our ground, and we own this shit. We own this shit. Not Russia, not China, not France, not America, not England. It's ours. It always has been. And when we blockchain it, it always will be.
Wow. All right.
Indeed. So with that type of concept, we're talking about being able to, because again, the American dollar is backed on nothing. So people are kind of, up in arms about cryptocurrency with the destabilization of it. But there is nothing, people have a lot of comfort in the American dollar when there's absolutely nothing backing that.
The only thing backing that American dollar is the American gun and the American nuke. And so if you are willing to bet your life, your children's life, your grandchildren's life on bombing other people, then go ahead and trust in the dollar.
And then the other aspect that is backing the American dollar is actually the blood, sweat, and tears of the American people, right?
Yep.
There you go.
Are the commodities.
Yep.
And that is not just hurting Black folks. That's where when the white people who think that white supremacy is their salvation, when they understand your salvation didn't buy you anything but debt, when they understand that when they finally understand that, they would have sold their children for eternity, or at least for 10 generations. And I don't know. I feel like saying, come on, are you all really that mathematically stupid? But you really feel like saying hello. We are the mammies of your children, on behalf of your children, who I babysit, who I raise, who Black women were the ones who took their breasts out while they were still breastfeeding and fed those doggone babies. I'm on behalf of those white babies. I'm saying, do you really want to do that? Do you really want to do that? Remember that scene in, what was that movie with Viola Davis, where it was set in Mississippi in 1961, and another lady, Octavia Spencer cooked that pie, a chocolate pie made out of her own bowel movement. What was the name of that movie?
Was it The Help?
Yes.
The Help.
Yes.
Remember Viola Davis saying to that little white girl, I am pretty, I am intelligent, I am special. The nanny had to say that to the little white girl because her own mama wasn't saying it to her.
Well, Caucasian, European.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. White, right. Caucasian, European. She had to say it to the little girl because her own mama didn't even believe that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the little girl repeated what her nanny told her, because her mama wasn't even as much of a mother to her as the nanny who poured, you could pay me, but you can't pay me to love your child, especially you can't pay me to love your child more than you do. Make that make sense. That was the heartbreaking part of the whole thing. You fire somebody who loves your child and the child loves her, and you break all of that out of racism. You have split your own family for your own ego. What woman would do that to her own child that she loved?
So that's a whole nother conversation about.
That's a whole nother conversation.
About the love-hate relationship that Europeans have with Black folks. You know, how they secretly love us, but then spin into aspects of jealousy, envy, and that turns into hatred and different aspects of obsession, because there's a lack of control of that, that viable thing, that essence. And so it malforms into other formations of destruction.
What kind of person hates somebody who loves their child more than they do?
That's
a psychology I can't even fix tonight.
But that's just classic aspects of jealousy and envy. You know, when you have jealousy and envy of things, then it turns into hatred. If you can't have that thing, you oftentimes with people, when they're emotionally unstable, when they can't have that thing or they can't exude that thing, then jealousy and envy creeps, and of course that always is able to deteriorate, right, and to deform that energy and turn it into hatred.
And that is where that little child who had a glimpse of not just white supremacy, but Black love has to grow up to figure, which do I choose? White supremacy that never loved me, or Black love that loved me despite my mother and my father? And one day, maybe those children will wake up. But we aren't waiting for them. When are we gonna wake up? When are we gonna wake up?
With that being said, I wanted to add in really quickly. one of the most powerful things on this planet, one of the most powerful elements on this planet is black love, right? And all other people know that except for black people.
You just said something so profound. Black love is so powerful that a black nanny loving a little white child a little bit could save white people from their own white supremacy, narcissism, and insanity. Because narcissism should be a diagnosis under psychology for psychopathy.
Woo!
A black man could save some white people from their own psychopathy. If
Caucasian, European.
okay, I'm sorry, Caucasian or European, we could, and we have been doing so for hundreds of years, waiting for that moment when our breast milk was actually going to make a difference in somebody's psychology. We've been waiting. We've been waiting. And it may finally come, because not just are they waking up, some of them maybe, hopefully, who cares if they wake up? When are we going to wake up to the power of our own love? When are we going to wake up? We don't even admit that to ourselves.
It moves mountains and has been proven to do so over the centuries. That's why we still here today. But I don't want to get too far off into this, because this a whole nother breakdown. This is a whole nother show, really. You know, I get into a segment called Bluff, which stands for Black Love Under Fire, and this is kind of right in that same vein, right? But back to I guess we're getting ready to wrap up the aspects. I'll bring it back to Sister Empress to let us know. Just to kind of put a cap on, or just the aspect that we were talking about with being able to back up the crypto with real world commodities. You know, so as we were talking about, you know, as it stands right now, a lot of the cryptocurrencies are backed by the consensus of the people, you know, being able to state that, you know, I believe and I agree that this is what this, you know, denomination is worth. And that's actually kind of how the American dollar is working right now as well, family, along with the different resources that are able to be dominated and colonized around the world. Okay. And of course, as Sister Anita stated, by the power of persuasion, by the great equalizers, the gun, the missile, and atomic power. All right. So, of course, that's one of the major leveraging points to say, hey, this is worth this because I said so. All right.
And that's where Black people have said, we surrender to the gun. We surrender to the missile. We surrender to the bomb because we ain't got that shit. So we think, well, we have to surrender and give up all our rights, give up all our dignity, give up our humanity, because instead of shooting them, we love them. And we don't realize love is not a weapon, but it's not a weakness either.
I say.
And we don't realize our strength. Love ain't a weapon, but it ain't a weakness either. And when you let evil tell you that love is a weakness, then they're telling you to get bitter instead of getting better.
Indeed. So one of the things we were talking about was, you know, being able to back up currency with hard type of commodities, right? So we're talking about being able to have Africa develop the cryptocurrency, be able to stabilize that currency with actual hard gold, with actual diamonds, with raw materials that is rich within the lands. Okay, and
Yes.
then now that we're looking at this aspect and element of the 123 countries that are now calling out of the human rights violations and calling out for reparations for these atrocities, for these injustices, we now have a card to play and a possible seat at the table as far as negotiations are concerned, and be able to partner and ally with these different countries who have these abundances of natural resources, and also, let me might add, other assets, right? As far as militarily, so on and so forth, right, family? Okay, the things that we do not have, all right, but we do offer, the strength of the intellect, the ingenuity, the creativity of our people, of our essence, of our spirits, right? The people, we ourselves are the commodities. Okay, so when
We are the
bring,
commodities.
right,
You are so on it because Africa is predominantly young, meaning Black people have sex. Okay. Let's just call it what it is. We do what we do. We reproduce like bunnies. So, in the next century, right, not even in the future, right now, the predominance of young people, the youngest racial group, let them say, which means who's having the most babies? Not the Chinese, not the Indians, definitely not white people. They're having pets, they're having puppies and kittens, they're not having babies. But who's having babies? Black folks.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's why in the next 100 years, I might not live to see it. My great grandson might be an old man, but he will be able to say, damn. So, because in the next 100 years, Blacks, people of African descent. So if you don't want to claim your African descent, you want to say you're indigenous because of whatever, you think that's going to get you some reparations right now, you better claim all of the above to whatever race, if that's what you have to do. Because in the next 100 years, it's going to be on, the spotlight is on people of African descent. Also, for the FBA and others who want to give a fuck you to Africa, that's going to be a big fuck you back from them. And that's why I like to tell people, don't just think what the Democratic Party feeds you, because they're doing divide and conquer, even among Black people. How many times do we have to relive this Machiavellian scenario before we finally learn not to keep falling for the same temptation over and over? I mean, we've been going through this. Dum Diversus was passed by the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Nicholas V, in 1452. And this is where white people think that they are superior, because it's taken more than 400 years and 500 years, almost 600 years, and you still haven't figured this shit out. I would be willing to agree with them that that does make us a little stupid. We've been doing the same thing the same way for 600 years, and you still haven't figured it out.
Well, I wouldn't say that makes us stupid, but I would say that would make us crazy.
Yes.
Doing the same thing and expecting different results is one of the fundamental forms of insanity.
And they're doing the same thing the same way and getting the same results, but we're the ones crazy because we keep falling for it.
All right.
But they're doing the same thing the same way, and we haven't recognized the pattern yet. That's
Right.
not very mathematical.
It's not intelligent.
It's not
Not
intelligent.
intelligent.
It after 600 years, if you haven't caught on, I'm starting to question your sanity or your intelligence myself. I'm just saying on behalf of all extraterrestrials looking on Earth, if you haven't caught on to a pattern after 600 years, are you intelligent or are you crazy? Maybe both.
Illumination.
I'm just saying that if you were an extraterrestrial visiting Earth, how would you look at this situation?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You'd almost be willing to agree with white people. Yeah, they're stupid or crazy, but either way, you can exploit them, which is what they've been doing. And what we have to stop doing is stop letting them.
Stop falling for the okie though.
Stop falling
being,
for the okie doke. It only took 600 years. Are you ready? Are you ready? Or you want to take another 600 to contemplate it again because you're not sure? Let me think about it. I'm not quite convinced yet. Oh my
God! As our ancestor Malcolm L. Haj El Malik would say, aka ancestor Minister Malcolm X, stated it quite plainly, being hoodwinked, bamboozled, and led astray. And we keep falling for the same play over and over, family. So hopefully, folks are recognizing and realizing and waking the hell up, because, folks talking about they woke, but, they seem like they're still sleeping in the matrix, taking the blue pill.
And that blue pill has to do with their limited thinking on their religious aspects. And that's what I am addressing some of right now. We're entering like this. Empress talked about, we're talking on Saturday night, but it is a specific Saturday night. It is the Saturday night after Passover and before Easter. So, and after Passover, after Eid and Ramadan, but before Easter. So you have Black folks. Thank you. You have Black folks in the Abrahamic religions who are so used to worshiping white people that they aren't seeing that they should worship the God within them, because that is the God who started this all. They don't see it. They don't see it. And
I want to say Caucasian, European. But
yes, they would rather worship Caucasians and Europeans. Forgive them for all the sins against our humanity without them paying a dime of reparations, even asking for forgiveness. But my question is, so you would let them into whatever your heaven is without paying reparations, without asking for forgiveness, without recognizing what they did was wrong. And all of this in the name of Jesus, when Jesus said they had to confess their sins. And they ain't even confessed their sins, let alone pay anything on them. They just stole from you, told you to forgive them without their apology, because you're even better than Jesus. And you willing to do it because you want to be better than Jesus, because that would surely get you into heaven, no matter how much hell you go through on earth. Make that make sense. And make that make sense. And we've been doing this for almost 600 years.
Wow. And let me just throw in two very key words for what you just said, sister. And that is without them atoning.
Right.
Or repenting.
Right. They don't have to atone. They don't have to repent. We'll let those devils into heaven to raise all the hell they want because we're better than Jesus. Make that make sense.
Woo! All right. So listen, before we close this segment out, let's go to the family. Is there any comments, questions, thoughts? Feel free.
Let me grab a drink and I'll be right back. I'll be right back. It won't take me a second. It might take me a second because I can't get up.
All right. Sister Nita always brings that fire and spirit. Okay.
All right, here I am.
Okay.
Right. Any questions?
Yep. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Do you see anything on Facebook, Brother Lumumba?
Oh yeah. Let me see. And we got Queen Mother in the building as
All
well.
right.
So Queen Mother just joined us and is on the stage now.
All right. Well, before we go to Queen Mother, let's close out with Sister Nita, and then we're going to hear our report. Again, I asked Dr. Blakely to join us because, she does a lot of work at the United Nations, and I just wanted her to share with us some of the, what she was able to actually see and hear being there last week. So before we bring her in, let's go back to Sister Nita. And again, family, any questions, comments? We're going to be talking more about this blockchain because, sisters, with MWM 30 coming next year, we want to be ready to invest. That's right. And again, it's not going to take a lot. So it's not like we're asking you to give your life savings or your children's college, whatever. No. It'll be less than I was saying to Sister Nita. And she said, no, it doesn't even have to be that much. But I was saying, use one of your manicure days, right, to invest. Okay.
She's saying a manicure day. And I love it because she knows I will get these things done.
That's right.
This is my little bit of art and self-care. And I love doing that. But what I tell people is it can take just $10. And right now, $10 is the cost of a fast food meal.
Right.
And if you're only feeding one person, trust and believe, if you're feeding a whole family, you better go to that grocery store and cook. The days are different than they used to be, even before the pandemic. So while we're going into the next days, and those next days might include having to run. And I tell Black people that because we might be heading into days of plagues. I'm just saying this from a Black Jewish perspective. If you don't get Pharaoh to agree to your freedom through a conversation, maybe it will have to come through plagues. And if the plagues come, we might have to run. And if we have to run, then it might be a repeat of history where Detroit becomes a pivotal part because we're running to Canada I'm just being blunt, people.
Right. For freedom.
For freedom.
Right.
And not Canada is the freedom, but let's be blunt about airports and TSA and all that kind of crap that's going on right now. If the freedom is in the Caribbean or in Africa or even in South America, and you have to get up out of here, you could put gas in your car with the gas being almost $4 a gallon and try and drive to Mexico or wherever. Or I'm in Detroit. 20 minutes, y'all. 20 minutes and I'm in Canada. 3 hours and I'm in Toronto. Toronto has an airport. Have y'all heard Toronto has an airport? I want to tell y'all a secret. Toronto has an airport.
Okay. All right, my sister, listen. We want to get ready to bring Dr. Blakely in. Family, again, before we close out with Sister Anita, and I mean, she just shared so much incredible information for us. And again, we're going to be doing some sessions very soon so that folks can get more insight and get ready. Because we're going to make some moves now. This can't just be conversation. With what we just saw last week at the United Nations, that was an action. You see, that went beyond just the conversation. So now we have to do due diligence and take it to the next level. With that said, I want to share with Sister Anita and of course with Dr. Blakely. We met last week with Baba Abiodun, who of course is one of the original founders of the Last Poets. And this week coming, we will make an announcement for there to be a national human rights concert that we're looking to do in New York. And it will focus on, of course, this historic happening last week, but also where do we go from here? And again, this will enable us to further educate the masses of our people in particular about what human rights are, what genocide is, crimes against humanity, etc. But we're looking at hopefully a whole weekend of art and just wonderful music and things of that nature around the issues of human rights and specifically the transatlantic slave trade. So on Thursday, which is April the 9th at 7 o'clock, we will make it official. All call to conscientious and conscious artists who want to be a part of this human rights stand. Here we stand. That is the day of Paul Robeson becoming an ancestor, meaning April the 9th. And he, of course, took the petition to the United Nations in 1951, charging genocide. So this is the 75th year. And now with the United Nations, with the 123 countries agreeing that this is the most grievous crime against humanity, we now say to the United States, it is unacceptable that your vote was no, and y'all got to go.
And I am fully in agreement on that. Let me ask one question before I go.
Hold on, real quick. Let me just check with Queen Mother to make sure she is in queue and our mic is working and everything is working fine.
Okay.
Queen Mother, do you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, great.
All
Okay.
right. Give thanks.
Give thanks. All right. Here's my question. There is this beautiful picture. Who are the pig people on this picture? Because I am learning that AI art is so hard to make because they reset back to racism every 24 hours. That's a whole nother presentation on another day. But who are the people premiered on this continued fight for justice, reparations, and restitution?
Talk to Brother Moon because he created that. He's getting really great with this AI stuff. But go ahead, Brother Lumumba.
Yeah, so I was just highlighting the picture, the background picture, to see if you could get a make on it. And let me go to Queen Mother real quick if she can be able to decipher who these figures are on the background image? Queen Mother, can you tell Queen Mother Blakely? Can you tell who these figures are as it pertains to reparations?
And they're not exact, so let's be real clear about that.
Right.
Those aren't exact.
This is AI generated, but as close as they could.
I don't know who they are.
Okay. So
They
I
they
know
may be
you
they may
think
be
they
trying to
are.
make it they may be trying to make it Queen Mother Moore.
Yeah.
Trying to make it Malcolm X.
Yep.
And then the other brother, I'm
You
saying,
know who he looks like to me is Aliko Dangote.
It's
But
Paul Robeson.
Paul
that's
Robeson.
who that's
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Yeah, Paul Robeson. Yeah.
Wow. Does Paul Robeson look like, or here's where. Does Aliko Dangote look like Paul Robeson?
Wow. Wow.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly.
I think of Paul Robeson in Leningrad in Russia.
Yes.
Wow.
When I think of Russia, I think of him.
Well, we
But
think of him because he lived right here in Philly.
Yeah.
And Aliko Dangote is the president of Dangote International or Industries in he's the richest man in Africa at the moment. He is a Nigerian who owns gold, not just gold mines, but all kinds of mines, petroleum mines, all kinds of mines, and cement and various things. So that's who I thought it was. But when you tell me that's Paul Robeson, I'm like, oh my God. So does Aliko Dangote look like Paul Robeson? You know, God has a sense of humor.
Mhm.
But you got to remember, these aren't exact images as well. It's the best that AI could do with compiling different photographs and pictures together and trying to make a likeness of those individuals.
And yet,
They did a good job with Brother Malcolm, though, I think.
They
it
did the best
truly
they
did. It truly did. And yet, here's what I have noticed where some people look like other people from the past, and maybe that's part of their success. Like Queen Latifah looks like somebody from the past. Oh, her name just slipped my mind. There are so many people who look like folks from the past that they look like clones. And so when the AI made a clone, watch that too, because some of us Tyrone.
So listen, let's get ready to go to Dr. Blakely because I want to hear her. She had a long day today, and I don't want to keep her long.
Yes,
But I definitely want to hear her report on last week's, the happenings at the United Nations. So let's go over and turn the mic over to Queen Mother Dr. Blakely.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of New Day.
Is it on now?
Yep,
Yes,
we're
Queen Mother.
Oh, thank you. In the spirit of our ancestors, we've been quite busy today. One of our warrior women from the Black Power movement, Sister Santawa, is just been enthused in the spirit of Queen Mother Moore in North America as a Queen Mother today. And it was very moving and very powerful of what she wanted from us as a family. And so, as you know, she deals with Marcus Garvey Day Parade in Harlem.
Yes.
Over 10 years. She's done that alone. And a sister who is about economics, feed the family is her priority in our lives.
So, Dr. Blakely,
She's involved with any affair.
Because we're running behind, I want to really kind of focus on last week if we can.
Yes, but I was gonna drag her into last week, based on what we did today. It links to what we did today and instilling our warrior sister in the spirit of Queen Mother Audley Moore. I think if Mother was amongst us, that would have been the joy of this instilling our sister today, warrior sister today, in Brooklyn and in North America, where the oldest Queen Mother in the Shanti region um, have given us the power to do so. And we did it, as you know, with Mama Winnie Mandela when she came to Harlem and stewed her in the presence of Queen Mother Audley Moore. Queen Mother Moore talked about reparations, as you know, for over the last 80 years. And she became an ancestor just before she became 100 years old. One of the things she asked me to do after being with her for about 20 years of her life as an elder, would I carry on reparation for her, especially where I'm at the United Nations, where Queen Mother met me at the UN. And this is going on my 58th year as a humanitarian. I agreed with Queen Mother that I would do what she asked me to do as long as I would be able to do that. And that was carry the one word for her, the one word reparations, into the halls of the United Nations, into the meetings, into um, the way of life throughout the United Nations proper around the world. And in doing that, it became a reality. And thanks to People of African Descent Permanent Forum, where we came together and with us banding as one African people, African descendant people of the transatlantic ocean of enslaved people, it has become a reality because of all of us working as one. Reparation, whether that was in Geneva, Switzerland, at sessions of forums and back at headquarters. And I remember the last time that we came so as a group and stuck together like glue in one room, over 1,500 of us in one of the conference room 4 in the United Nations. And when they allowed me to speak, and I spoke of Queen Mother Audley Moore, and only one word she brought to us is the word reparation. If you knew anything about Queen Mother Moore, she ate and slept the word reparations. Wherever she went, that's what she talked about, reparation. Before presidents, before parliamentarians, before what we call here congressional, before Mr. Charles Rangel, before Brother Minister Farrakhan, before our ancestor Reverend Jesse Jackson, before anyone who thought they were in control of us as a people. And her issues, many times when she would enter the room, talk about reparation, and you would hear the leaders say, "Hold on, Queen Mother, we're going to give you a chance to talk about reparation." So reparation now is a household word of us sticking together, as I said, like glue. In Geneva, human rights, and then coming to New York to headquarters of the United Nations, and putting that word before the world community. Now it's a reality. The Ark of Return, and on the 25th of March, right after the Commission on the Status of Women, um, being able to speak to the concerns of the transatlantic ocean of enslaved people at the United Nations since 2015, of the Ark of Return, destined to have created the consciousness of the African burial ground as well as the Ark of Return. And his ancestors would be that of Haitian descendant. And with Rodney, Rodney is very clear on his divine mission and having us to remember to memorialize our ancestors in the spirit and energy of our ancestors through the monuments that he was engaged with, the African burial ground, and then the Ark of Return, the Ark of Return at the United Nations that speaks every year, March the 25th of each year. And when our dearly beloved brother, President of Ghana, spoke during the General Assembly in September with his, what do you call it? His
Delegation.
clothes,
Yeah.
his, what do we call it? When a man wears not the kente cloth, but also he had on his garment. Yes, you
Regalia.
know what it's called. And instead of a business suit on as a head of state, spoke before the General Assembly for the 80th anniversary of the GA, the General Assembly of the United Nations. And with him coming out and speaking to the world, and spoke about us, the African descendant, in the struggle of reparation. And you could imagine with me sitting in the GA hall and he yelled out the word reparation. I say, Queen Mother's kicking everybody. And so kicking Ghana, President John Mahama, to speak up on reparation in September. And then with them coming back again in the month of March for the transatlantic slave trade, memorializing our ancestors coming back again March the 24th and on March the 25th. And what I said to the team after they had the discussion with scholars, which you could read all about that from the UN Web TV, on that day, leaders and scholars and experts came together in conference room 3 at the United Nations to discuss reparations. And after we done what we supposed to do in that gathering of the brothers and sisters who came to New York for that particular session, then the next day, as I said to some of those that met with him for over lunch, I says, it's very imperative, it's very important, and it's very necessary that he go through the arc of the return at the United Nations and the spirit of our ancestors and the God force within him, and during the high holy days of Ramadan and other high holy days of Lent and other high holy days of interfaith religion that is still going on right now, it would behoove him to come through the Ark of Return at the United Nations. And I was able to convince the brother leadership of his delegation to bring it to his consciousness what I request him as the Queen Mother of going on 85 years old. And sure enough, they was able to let him know what I stated and wanted him to do before he addressed the General Assembly. And lo and behold, he did just that. Give respect and honor to our ancestors and in North America, and understood what that meant for us, for him to have addressed our ancestors and the prayers of the God force within each one of us, to be a part of the movement of reparations. And so he made that happen. And when he did, I gave him a gift of a book called The Harlem Street Nun. And in the book, my first chapter of the book, which I'm the author of, talked about my roots. And it talks about Ghana, my trip sojourning to Ghana and to the Cape Coast castles. And with that, I think that the delegation could not believe in 1987 a book had been written about our experience of the slave trade of us and leaving the force of the shores of Mother Africa. And so after they read it and was just highly moved, I would say, about our own writings about that experience, as a gift to give to him at the Ark of Return, and he accepted for me to do so. So I was able to do it in the spirit of Queen Mother Audley Moore. And I went on to go beyond Queen Mother. But also you have our dearly beloved elder who lived to be 111 years old from Mama Fletcher, who also took up reparation, which I was so pleased that she did, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. And so a part of her being a part of the movement of reparation and coming to the Royal Court of Harlem to look for me, and Brooklyn, she went to the UN as well, looking for me. And when we had to deal with her going home to be free, she wanted to go to Africa, and it happened for her and her brother, who had reached, Uncle Red reached the age of 100, but she went on and reached the age of 111. And so, in the first time meeting them in Tulsa, Oklahoma, it was to yell out, "I want to go home." And she was granted, the two of them was granted the opportunity to do so. And she came back and they got their citizenship, so she was freed. That's what she wanted, to be free from the shackles in the United States of America, but the freedom of home. And in going to her life celebration, which I was requested to be there for the family private celebration and a community celebration, what a celebration it was for her. And the last of the three is still living amongst us, and she is now 111 years old. So there again, the elders are speaking about returning home to the soil of Mother Africa. They're yearning and earning for that journey. And it doesn't mean that they gave up here. No, But you could imagine that she wanted the citizenship which Ghana gave her citizenship to be free. And so that freedom is real to many of our elders who yearn to return home to the soil of Mother Africa. And so with Queen Mother, wanted us to return to the soil, but they had to pay us, honey. And she would always say to me, honey, go get your reparation. Go get your money, honey. Go get your money. Don't talk about it. Go get it. And so I would say with the Trail of Tears in Tulsa, and on that Trail of Tears, what sprung into my consciousness, cut the check. Go get your money, honey, Queen Mother would say. Reparation now. Now, honey, go get it. And with that yell and consciousness of Queen Mother Audley Moore, then I think the time has come for us to say the word cut the check from the Trail of Tears in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so with that, I think that we are in stage one and we have to move on to the next stages. And I see if we continue in the path of what Queen Mother has asked us to do and stay on that sacred path that she has brought to our consciousness, I believe we will be awarded our reparation. Are we ready? Are we ready, as I say always to the United Nations every time they gave me the mic or allowed me to speak in many forums and committees at the UN and in Geneva? Queen Mother Blakely would say, I don't know what the rest of my family want, but let me tell you what I want until they could speak for themselves. Queen Mother says 55 million of us, and that's what I use in my conversation. And for the record, I would let them know in the spirit of Queen Mother Audley Moore, I am requesting the down payment they can only give me at this time would be $3 trillion I would accept as a down payment. They can never pay me for the crime they have done to me. And so with that, been echoes within the walls of the United Nations, many of the years that I've been there in the spirit of Queen Mother Audley Moore for reparations, this has been the request and understanding what we all should do. And I think this is the time for us now to be able to speak to each other about the plan we have for our divine family, whether that's in agri, whether it's in education, whether it's in health, whether it's in whatever, but being able to echo what Queen Mother said, honey, don't talk about it. Go get it. Go get your reparation. Go get your money, honey. And so with that, I leave that voice and ask that we all blanket the reflection with the warrior son who was brave enough to get up and say in September the word reparations. And what does that mean to each one of us? And how are we going to bond as one and continue to go forward with our concerns and with our requests before the world community? And some would say our demand before the world community of this injustice done to us, which is really our ancestors that we bore out of. And so with that, Queen Mother would say what Queen Mother would say, reparations, reparations, reparations now. She spoke so elegant and saying it to us, and so loud and saying it to us, and so on point, not missing a beat. She have said to us, honey, go get your money. Reparations now. Reparations now. Reparations now. From the words of Queen Mother Audley Moore.
Ashe, ashe. All right, family, you just heard it, and this is what we were waiting for to really be able to get better insight into some of what happened last week. This is such an important. I mean, it's just incredible. It's historic. It is just wonderful, and you know, I'm so thankful
Hello?
that Dr. Blakely was there to share with us
They never ready?
what she was actually able to see and hear and experience. And so
No.
again, we have
Were you
much.
able to hear Queen Mother?
Yes, we heard all of you. I mean, we heard it all. Yes. And so what we're saying now is we have so much ahead of us. We you know, this was a groundbreaker, needless to say, and certainly it has given us now more
Bless blessings
ammunition.
to all of you as Queen Mother must move on with the divine energy of the ancestors and the God force within all of us.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah, thanks.
yes.
Thanks for joining us, Queen Mother. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Ashe. All right, family. Again, before we close out, any questions, comments?
Let me bring folks up on the main stage that's in queue. See if there's any questions or comments. And let me also check. I've been playing some of the comments through the YouTube Live. So I did play put some of those on the screen though. But folks are on the main stage now. If there's any questions or comments, family, you can unmute yourself and ask any questions or give any commentary if you have anything to add in on that. Also check Facebook, and I have neglected Facebook. My apologies, family. Let me go there now to see if there are any questions or comments on our Facebook feed. All right, and thanks once again those who joined in for our stream on YouTube. Okay, and that would be Sister Gwen's brother Ray Ray. We had Sister Angela tapping in. We had Sister J Renee, and we had Sky Queen Mother tapping in for our YouTube live. So thank you all for tapping in. Thank you for supporting and being able to tune in to this edition of New Day Resurrection and Liberation. I am not seeing any comments on Facebook. All right, so let me come back to and Sister Empress, your background is very noisy. I'm not sure what that is, but it's sounding like a furnace burning in your background. All right.
Okay, is that better?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, cool.
All right. So any questions or comments with those who are joining us in the yard? Anyone on StreamYard? Question or comments? Yes, brother.
Peace, peace. This is Lefty X.
Yes, sir. Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate all the. I came late, but I do appreciate what the elder was saying. She, like I said, I wasn't in the whole conversation, but I know there was a dynamic conversation just by her energy, and like she said, we need reparations now. So, by any means necessary.
I say. Thank you for that addition, and I think for that commentary, brother Lefty. All right, all right. Going to open up the. And thank you for joining us as well. Going to open up the floor once again. Any questions or comments, family? Says Dottie, if you have a question or a comment, now will be the time. We get ready to close this session out for this evening. Questions or comments before we go back to Sister Empress. Oh, also we still have Sister Anita on the line as well. Questions or comments there. Before we close out, we want to come back to Sister Anita if that is possible. Let me bring her back on the stage. All right, Sister Anita.
And
Um,
for those who missed the Sister Anita's presentation, we strongly suggest that you review, the replay, because
Absolutely.
that information on chain block and how we can use that for
Blockchain,
reparations is
blockchain,
like, I'm
block,
sorry.
blockchain.
I'm sorry, blockchain. It's just so on point. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
again, it's like phase one, but you really need to get some of that preliminary information. So please check out the replay.
Indeed, indeed. Excellent presentation.
I wanted to ask, please, please explain a little bit more about Queen Mother Audley Moore from a Black history perspective. I'm like, when she was born, when she died, the the in Cobra connection. I'm like, I don't want to do all that talking, but this is such an important woman in Black history that
Yeah.
sometimes we think everybody knows who she is, and it's like, no, they don't.
Mm,
So
mm.
please, if I could ask that the Queen Mother explain the Queen Mother.
Yes, Queen Mother, if you are still with us, if you could just give the folks who are listening just a bit of brief background, historical context, and information. Looks like no, Queen Mother is no longer with us. All right, so I guess she had to depart.
And,
All right.
and keep in mind, we will definitely be doing that, Sister Anita. We every year we do a whole Queen Mother Moore weekend
Oh no,
every
Queen Mother
year.
with us. I'm not sure if
Um,
her mic is open. Queen Mother, are you still there? Uh, can
Yes.
oh,
okay,
there she
okay,
is.
yes, great, great. Can you just give us a little bit of brief background history and information for those of the listening audience who may not know the brilliant history and legacy of Queen Mother Moore? Queen Mother Saint, excuse me, Saint Queen Mother Audley Moore, our
Yep, we
ancestor.
call her Saint. That's right.
You know what I would ask the brothers and sisters to do is to go out and read a book just came out by Ashley Farmer. And as others are, it's called Queen Mother. I think they will learn a great deal about the work of Queen Mother Audley Moore. And there are other writings and will be forward to the community, but let them start there and just go out and Google Queen Mother. Just go out and just gather information, and information of those who knew Queen Mother, even in the neighborhood. Start putting the word out. Who knew her in Harlem? She lived amongst us.
Mhm.
Who knew her and knew Iberia, Louisiana, where we went to the area and made sure that there's a monument in her honor. Just ask the question of her relationship with the Honorable Messiah Garvey, her
Mhm.
love for Garvey and going Jamaica. What was that trip like? There's a picture you will see with Queen Mother in Queen Mother, the book that was done by Ashley Farmer. And you'll see Garvey's sons with her. and with Mama Rosa Parks and others, where she attended the Million Man March, and coming out of the different movements of a people from the deep south to the north. And so go to the museum in Harlem or on Fifth Avenue, where they showed Queen Mother in the museum in Harlem, and just kind of like find out through who she still is because of her legacy continues. And it reminds me of what the youth said about Mama Winnie Mandela. And Queen Mother had an opportunity to have met Winnie. That was her heart desire. And in their meeting, what happened in that meeting with the two of them for the first time? What was her life like traveling the world, traveling to the Caribbean, traveling to Africa? Go out, you can find her. And so I think that's what we need to do. And our young people on the superhighway and moving into the AI sphinx of things, from the sphinx and pyramids of the of the land of Cush, the land of Egypt, the deep land of the Nile. So it's from a historical perspective, they can really find Queen Mother amongst us. And that happened at the Schomburg Library when the body of work came out and presented at the launching here in Harlem in the Royal Court. And to have heard those who showed up begin to talk about their stories encounter of Queen Mother Audley Moore. If you had been in that room, can you imagine what it was like to hear the voices of many and their relationship with Queen Mother Audley Moore, who lived amongst the people? That was her desire, and that's what she did in her lifetime. And what time of the day it is, I'll never forget her poem. What's the hour of the day? If you knew anything about her, she was never late for the meetings, the conversation with us. That was her spirit amongst us. So there's many stories that we could hear in the beat where she spent time, and especially in Harlem, the Royal Court of Harlem. And so the gathering coming together, which I believe her spirit of reparation is going to make us come together, even if we don't want to. That's the force of Queen Mother Audley Moore upon us at this time of our destiny. And so the time has come through the mother's spirit, from the mother's womb, who give life to all of us. It's just a moving time in our lives at a time like this. The word reparation is no longer a dream. It's a reality now. Are we ready for the reality of that dream? We must ask ourselves. And so again, it's been overwhelming for me to have been asked to carry the mission on. And so I've done what she asked me to do, and that is get the word out there in the United Nations, and with the warrior bringing the word in at the United Nations, representing us, because we don't have our own nation, our own country. And so he has done that for us at our request to do so. And so we want to shape his world around our world from the continent Mother Africa. And blessing again to all of us.
Give thanks, much appreciated. And can you give us the name of that book once again, Queen Mother?
It's a title is Queen Mother.
And the author
is Ashley Farmer.
Ah, yes. Okay.
And
Got
she's on it when I, went and just was there with her. And I remember many times she came to me to gather information, and I told her I'm waiting until Queen Mother give me the instructions what to do with the body of work that I've been working on. And she understood. And so the night when I went with her launching, I'm all through the pages, and then a picture with Queen Mother. She understood spiritual, what her mission was about in the life of Queen Mother Audley Moore. And so it's important that we began to just tell our stories about Queen Mother Audley Moore.
Indeed. And I thank you for that, Queen Mother, and thank you for joining us this evening.
It's been a joy. It's been a joy.
All right, family. Let me come back over to Sister Empress.
Okay, so Brother Moomba, if you can check your email, I did send a photo of Saint Queen Mother Moore and Saint Winnie Mandela that we could share with folk. A very great picture. It also had Baba Kwame Ture in it as well. And again, every year we do something in recognition of Queen Mother Moore's born day, which is, of course, July the 27th. And so this year will be extra special, needless to say. But we also do something on the day of her transition. And so that is coming up in May. And again, we'll be giving you more information about that certainly as we lead up to, certainly at some point later on this month in preparation for that. The other thing we want to share with everyone is that because we're working now on the National Black Women's History Curriculum, there will be either educational flashcards or coloring books made available next year for our MWM 30 that will feature our 30 sister saints, and of course Saint Queen Mother Moore and Saint Winnie Mandela are featured in those publications and educational items that are coming out. Sister J. Renee, I heard you mention her earlier. She's working on some visuals for us. So very soon we're going to be, oh, by the way, one thing that I did not mention, and you'll hear more about this next week, we are getting ready to put the call out that was done in 1951. It was called The Call to Negro Women. And many do not know that, of course, Saint Queen Mother Moore was one of those women. Sister Nita, were you aware of that? Because I certainly didn't know until like a few years ago when I started researching different things about our women, and come to find out that the Sojourners for Truth and Justice, which was started in 1951, they put a call out that was, it was in fact, the call to Negro women to gather in Washington, D.C. in 1951. And then come to find out that Queen Mother Moore was one of those women, along with Paul Robeson's wife, Islanda Robeson, William Patterson's wife. And it was inspired, of course, by the great Bea Richards, her poem. So, as we get a little closer to, again, May, we'll be giving you more information about that because we're planning to commemorate that gathering. This year is also the 75th year of that gathering as well. And so we plan to be in Washington, D.C. And as they did a call, we are putting out a call to the universal Black woman, and the demand that they issued, we will be issuing some similar ones. And of course, theirs was in reference to the violence and abuse of our women and girls, as well as at that point, the numerous lynchings of our men. And so, we will discuss those topics and other things as well. But again, that happened in 1951 from September the 30th through, I believe, October the 2nd in 1951. Just a few months before Paul Robeson took the petition to the United Nations in 1951 on December 17th. Oh, let me just ask Queen Mother, Dr. Blakely, if she's still with us. What year was it that Queen Mother Moore took the petition to the United Nations? Because I got two dates. One, a few people said it was 1957, and a few others said it was 1958. Do you know which one is the correct year?
Not really.
Okay.
Queen Mother was so moving with her reparation. She never looked back to what she did. She looked forward to where she was going with her reparation. But I think that students could go back and dig the year because history is history.
Right.
And
But
I
that's
would
what
have some of the young people to do that. I think that's a part of the homework of getting the young people to be a part of telling Queen Mother's story and doing the research about her life. And so put them on it, dearly beloved, of the years of what she has done.
All right. Well, again, from the research that we've gotten so far, we have 2 years, one
Right.
1957 and one was 1958. And these are both in different articles or
Yes.
other
Yes.
kinds of things. So, hopefully we can track it at the United Nations.
Yes. I'm sure you can
Yeah.
continue to work through their archives there. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
she was very active and continued to be active even in her wheelchair with me before the women went to Beijing, China in 1995.
I say. All right. Okay, but were you able to find the photo that I was talking about with Queen Mother Winnie Mandela?
Yes, I
I put them
saw
both to your
it.
screen already.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
it
Okay.
was.
All
Yes.
right. Great.
And
Great.
that was done in the Royal Court of Harlem, at the theater in Harlem. And the Orset Society was a part of that, by the way.
Okay.
A royalty for Queen Mother Winnie Mandela. And so we have installed her, by the way, in the presence of Queen Mother on 125th Street. If you remember when Winnie and Nelson came to Harlem. And if you notice, we wrapped her a certain way of covering her head with the African cloth. If you watch what we did on stage there, and what we did to our elder Mandiba, where we wrapped him in a robe that was done by the Orset Society,
Oh, yes.
closing him,
Mm-hmm.
his royal state of consciousness with his attire that day on 125th Street, which is Martin Luther King Boulevard, we call.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right, family. So listen, once again, before we close out, any more questions or comments? And again, please mark your calendar. Thursday, April the 9th, we'll make the official announcement for the Human Rights Concert that will be taking place in New York later this year, that will focus on human rights, reparations now, remedies. What are they? And next week we'll tell you the We Charge Genocide 21. We'll give you insight into what our 21 issues are / demands / remedies. And of course, 2 of them we can tell you now because we've kind of already been putting it out there. And particularly with Dr. Blakely mentioning about young folks. Next week we'll be talking with Dr. James Garrett. Part 2 of our conversation regarding the first Black Student Union that was established here in the U.S. in California 60 years ago. We'll be talking with him. He was one of the founders. And we'll also be talking about what we're getting ready to do with some of our students now as part of the new Black student movement. And it is in terms of reparations. We are looking at them to take the position on there being a rescinding of all student loan debt for our students, and for the future, no tuition for higher education, etc. That's going to be the 2 things that our students are going to be, and young adults are going to be now bringing forward as part of the We Charge Genocide 21 platform. So we'll be telling you more about that next week with Dr. James Garrett, who of course is an international lawyer. They're building a hospital in Namibia, and he'll give us some updates on that, as well as a few other things. So that's next week with Dr. James Garrett.
Indeed, indeed. All right. Excellent. Thank you once again. All right, thanks for that. This is Sister Empress. Thank you for joining us. Pleasure as usual, Queen Mother, and thank you for that excellent breakdown, Sister Anita Bell, on blockchain and how that can be tied into the reparations movement. Excellent. All right, family. With that being said, it looks like we're going to be closing out for this evening. All right, let me go and check the comments one more again, okay, to see if there are any last comments there. All right. And I do not see. Okay, so looks like we're getting ready to close out for this evening. And thank you once again for joining us for this edition of New Day Resurrection and Liberation. With that being said, I want to give thanks first and foremost to the. Oh, you had a question or comment? Okay. All right. So yes, I want to give thanks first and foremost to the Most High Creator Creators. Give thanks to the ancestors and the elders, those who have shed blood, sweat, and tears and paved the way to allow us to be here today. I want to thank you all. Thank you once again to our guests. I want to thank you all. Thank you for your time, energy, and effort, dedication, determination, and discipline. All right, those who are supporting, those who are tapping in, those who are here to broadcast later, hopefully you're able to take some nuggets from this and be able to build from it as we continue to fight for freedom, justice, and liberation, and continue to fight for reparations and reparatory justice. All right. I bid you all truth, justice, peace, love, freedom, power, prosperity, protection, and divinely principled purpose. I want to say let us continue to strategize, organize, and mobilize. And finally, family, I want to say Pamoja Tutashenda, which means together we will win. All right. Peace and love.
Ashe, ashe, oh.